tutors, mentors, and the city with your host.com.
The Citi Tutors presents
Tutors, mentors, and the city
with your host.com.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Kevin.com Brown, and welcome to Tutors, Mentors, and the City, brought to you by the Citi Tutors. And please join me in welcoming our guests like I do every episode. Please give it up for Mr. Sheik Isaacs. Yay! Sheik, how are you?
Doing well, my friend, doing well.
Because I do no research, I can ask questions from the perspective of our viewers, getting to know you the same way they're getting to know you.
Okay.
All right. So that being said, Sheik, who are you?
All right. So I'm a first generation immigrant from Guyana, right? So Guyana is a country in South America. It's the only English speaking country in South America. And it's right next to Venezuela on top of Brazil, right? It's like basically 6 hours away from New York City. So outside of Guyana, I would say the biggest population we have in the United States is concentrated in New York and probably Orlando. So that's where you find my people, right? Okay. And in Canada too, but yes. So, okay. So usually when you're thinking about migrating, those are the two spots that you go. So I migrated to New York, right, a while ago. But tell me how far back you want me to start, because I'm just...
We're going all the way back to the beginning. We're going back to Little Sheik. We're going back that
Okay, sure. But yeah, when I migrated over, it was definitely, I would say, a cultural experience, because coming from let's say, a developing country where opportunity is far and few, right? You learn to value education, right? And coming to the US, it's very different, right? So for me, when I grew up, let's say this is the elementary years, right? So this is like, let's say grade 1 to grade 5. So in that time, my parents were going through the immigration process, right? So what that meant is you had to live 6 months in one country. You couldn't stay out of the country too long, right? 6 months in one country, 6 months in another country. So what that meant for me is I switched schools a lot, right? So I would be like in the middle of the year, I would have to switch and go back to a school in Guyana, right? So that really taught me a lot about, are you familiar with the term code switching?
Code switching, yes.
Yes. So you would have to kind of figure out what's going on in one society, fit in, and then jump back to another and then figure it out. And I'm doing this like under the age of 10, right? So in Guyana, because of the limited opportunity, they really value education. So you get respect out of grades, right? That's how people show you your worth. You know, you do well in school, doesn't matter what you wear. And in the US, totally different. It's all about fitting in, right? It's all about fitting in, being around the right people, doing the right things. So it's kind of like figuring that out at a very early age. It was interesting times, because I would be very advanced in academics when I came here, but then, you know, you wouldn't fit in. And when you go back home, you would be speaking different, and they're like, ah, man, you're different from us.
You were able to experience your early education in Guyana and in America.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when you came to America, what borough did you land in?
Lovely Queens.
Queens. All right.
Yeah.
Now Queens has different sort of population. So what part of Queens?
So Richmond Hill, South Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, right around there. My public school was PS 121.
Oh.
So that was me from grade 3 to 6, I think. Yeah.
Okay. I can relate. All right. And now in Guyana, is the early school structure similar to America?
Similar. They don't call it elementary school. They use primary and secondary school to differentiate. But they're mainly focused on academics. So I think when you're ready to transition from, let's say, primary school to high school, you have to take a test, like a placement test. right? And I think in the US, we don't have to take a placement test. It's based on where you live, right? It's if you live in a good district, you
Right.
get into a good high school, or
Right.
you can get into one of those lotteries and get a charter to get in. So it's
Yes.
very different, right?
Yes. Okay, so a lot of the North American, South American countries were colonized.
Yes.
So what is the origin of the culture of Guyana?
So definitely British, like most of the Caribbean countries. So we identify as Caribbean also.
Okay.
We're
That was
just like a Caribbean country in the mainland of
Yeah.
South America.
Yeah.
Right. So definitely there's a lot of British culture there. And over time, we just develop our own culture, like similar to any other Caribbean country. We develop our own culture, and it's very similar to most Caribbean countries. So if you are interested in like going to like Jamaica or Trinidad or one of those islands, you find kind of the same atmosphere right there.
Okay, yeah, because when you had said it's in South America, and I was like, okay, can I call that Caribbean? I don't know,
Yeah.
but clearing that up. All right, so let's say you finished 12th grade, whatever the highest grade is for and now it's time to go to college.
Well, let me talk a little bit about high school, because high school is a different experience, right? So for me, when there is a focus on academics, because I did high school all in Guyana. So
Okay.
my parents had the feeling that high school in America was a little bit dangerous, because the high school that I was going to, or zone to go to, they started putting metal detectors in there. So they were like, nah. And even for simple basketball games, they were like, metal detectors? My mom was like, nah, this is not going to work for us. So they said, you know what? We have the option of going back. Let's take the kids back and do it in a place that, we know the culture and it's a little bit safer.
Okay.
Right. So we went there. High school in Guyana, it's only 5 or 6 years. And it's the first 2 years, you would do like general education, and the third year you would have to make a decision of kind of what you want to study. So they will call it streaming. You would pick, like, if I want to be a doctor, I'll go into the science stream and only learn science subjects. If you want to be a lawyer, you'll learn art. If you want to be an entrepreneur or an accountant, you'll learn kind of business accounting. So they started to make those decisions, or kids have to make that decision early. One of the reasons being that not a lot of folks go to college after. So whatever you learn in high school, that's probably where you'll stop. So they have to get you job ready quick.
Okay.
So I focused on business because I talked to my dad, and he's like, listen, everyone needs an accountant. That's a secure job. And then if you do do this business thing, you can always open your own business and be an entrepreneur. Right. So I said, that makes a lot of sense. So that's kind of what I did. And high school was a very, very, I would say you get to explore a lot in high school. So I was like a sports junkie in high school. I did a lot of sports. So I did, just to give you a flavor, I was a competitive swimmer. Right. I did mountain biking. I did cricket. I did football. I did weightlifting. So there was it was packed. If I wasn't in a classroom, I was always doing something.
Right.
And that's how it should be. To me, that's how you should be as a kid. You should always be busy. You should always be learning. Like whenever my friends and I got together too, since it's the Caribbean and we were into Caribbean music, we would DJ. We will go to local spots, whoever birthday it is or whatever, and we would set up our DJ set and we would DJ, dance hall, soca, whatever it is. And that was fun for us.
Right. And cricket, I don't think caught on here in the States. I've never seen a cricket match. It's not a thing that kids aspire to here in the States.
It's also a sport that takes a while to finish. All right, unless you tell them, listen, we're gonna draw. There's part of it that says T20. You can only bowl 20 balls, and after that, whatever it is, that's it. But if you let the game go on like how it's originally set, it can take a while.
Right. Okay. And I'm assuming when you said football,
Soccer.
soccer. Okay.
Soccer. They're like, football is in the US, it means something different. Outside of the US, I mean, that's slowly changing with Messi coming here.
Yeah. Yeah, soccer is huge.
Yeah.
Football is huge.
I think when you're in America, you're kind of in the bubble. And
yeah. But the FIFA, I think FIFA's going to be here in the next couple of years or whatever, and it's going to be big. It's going to be big.
It's going to be crazy. Yeah,
crazy. So now you're complete. You've completed high school.
Yes.
And time to make the next step. What was the next step for you?
So the next step, well, usually kids in the Caribbean finish school a little bit early than in the US. So I finished high school at like around 16, right? Okay. So then I had to make the decision of, like you're saying, what next? And I wanted to do like college like right away. I didn't want to go to work. So then I got into around like mid high school, I got a computer. And like most people, the intention of getting a computer was to do assignments, work assignments, right? School assignments. Totally did something else, right? I was DJing on the computer, playing games, whatever. So I said, I love this computer thing. I want to study it. So I went to college and I did 2 years of computer science. And then when I was around 18, my dad said, if you really like this stuff, there's not going to be a lot of opportunity in this country. Right? Because you'll graduate with an advanced degree and probably the most you can do is either be a computer repairman or you can just build websites for some local companies. And what you're studying is very, very different. You're looking at things that are very different. So, take the opportunity, go to the US, pursue like computer programming, see where that takes you. Right? So that's when I transitioned over and to the US, and then I ended up at York College, right? York College in Queens. That was my CUNY college, started the journey. So I went there, I inquired about computer science, and then I also inquired about accounting because I still felt that was a solid career choice, right? Everyone needs an accountant. Right. And then I think when I came to the US, I found out about outsourcing. I didn't even know that was a concept. And then outsourcing in the IT industry was popular with software engineers. So the salary was watered down. And I was like, hey, if I'm going to spend all this time studying and I can't guarantee a job or an income because all of this stuff is going to be done offshore, I need to figure something else out. I mean, I love computers, but I'm now in America and it's expensive to live here. So then that's where I pursued a degree in accounting.
Okay.
Right. And I also, at the same time, my neighbor actually worked for a bank and she was like, are you interested in, coming in for an interview? We can't promise you anything, but, you come in and then at least you'll leave knowing what skills you need. And eventually, if you have those skills, or if we think you're coachable, we can give you a job and see where it goes. So I did that, became a teller at the bank. So I was doing both school and I became what's called a professional student. So after you leave school, after you leave work, which was 7 to 5, you would have to take the E train from Manhattan to Queens, and then go to York at 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, then take the bus home. And I did that for about 3.5 years. And it's rough. It's rough because you would have to kind of wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock, study on the train, and then do a full day of work, and then just do it all over again.
Yes. Okay. So you weren't, by the time you came for college, you were not unfamiliar with New York. You weren't.
No, I visited. Yeah, I do have family here. So every summer I would visit. So I knew the culture, but it's very different when you decide to stay in a country versus visiting.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So here's the question. Here's the question. You're in Guyana, and it's time to pick a college.
Yeah.
What was your method? What method did you use? How'd you end up at York?
York was the closest. Well, it's not scientific. When I picked the college, I said to myself that if I have a lot of gap time, I'll probably get myself in trouble. So I needed a college to be able to, when I'm transitioning over, get myself into one right away and then start this thing, because if I have time, I'll find other things to do and I won't even think about going to school. So I think I left Guyana in like December and York was registering in January. So I had put in all the paperwork and everything, did all of the transcript reviews and started classes in late January.
Okay, great. So and you graduated from York. What'd you get your degree in?
Yeah. Accounting. I got it in accounting. One thing to mention too is I didn't take breaks over the summer. Like I would go, CUNY had this thing where you can go to different colleges and you can, like, if the course wasn't offered at your college, you could do it in another college.
Right.
So luckily for me, all of the accounting classes that I wanted to do, but I couldn't do in a full semester, I could do it over the summer. It was a compressed schedule, but you got it done. And I did a lot of my classes at Medgar Evers College, or BMCC. So I would go, and plus it's closer to Manhattan, right? BMCC, it's close train ride. Medgar College is right in Brooklyn. So I would go get those classes done. And it was great because I graduated in like 3.5 years, just saving the time.
Copy that. Listen, I'm like I said, I'm towards the end of my master's now, and it's summertime while we're doing this interview. I just turned in my final 2 weeks, right?
Nice.
So I'm different from a lot of my classmates there. The average and go for masters, everybody's a working professional pretty much,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Families and whatever. But I told them I'm trying to get up out of here. So
yep.
And I've been away from school for so long. I don't know if my brain, if I take the whole summer off, my brain may go
same way.
It may stop working and never start working again.
Yeah.
So like I'm afraid of that happening. So I just.
But you always shouldn't be scared to have a different mindset. I mean, what works for you might not work for everyone else, right? And then you also have to understand that you're on a different journey, right? Yeah. Not everyone's going to come along. Everybody might start with you, but not everyone can come along. It's hard. You're going to a place that few people have been before, right?
Well, let's talk about that. Because,
sure.
Citi Tutors, we provide free tutoring and free mentorship to typically anybody, anywhere from 55 to 55, 6
nice.
to 6. But our biggest demographic is the CUNY system.
Mm-hmm.
Our family is from York College and City College, Lehman and Baruch and Medgar Evers and Brooklyn College and KBCC and BMCC. But they're all going through a journey. A lot of first generation college students, a lot of immigrants, a lot of
I can relate. Yeah,
they're us. What do they need to know? What did you experience that you were like, man, I wish somebody had told me this? Did you have any of those aha moments?
So one of the things that I did before I left the country is I said I promised myself that I would make something of myself, right? But that is very hard to do when you come to the US and there's a lot of distractions, right? So that is one of the things that people have to stay focused on. You came here for a reason, right? And it could be a very personal reason, and it shouldn't be a reason from somebody else, right? You came here to make something, figure out what that is, what is your passion, and then pursue it. And realize that not everyone is going to be as motivated as you. Your journey is different. Your falls are different. You'll get up and learn differently, and don't be afraid to do it alone. Sometimes you have to do it alone. Like I said, you're going on a journey not a lot of people have been on, but when you finish that journey, or you're at a point of reflection, you can inspire someone else.
Very, Very well said. Very well said. Identify, remind yourself why you're there.
Exactly.
Why you're doing what you're doing, because it's so easy to forget,
Yep.
especially in New York. College students, if you go to school in New York, you're competing against New York. That college
Yes.
is against New York. New York has everything. New
Exactly.
York, New York is still the city that never sleeps. Even after the pandemic, it still never sleeps. You can go to the party and then
I agree.
the after party, and then you
Exactly.
wake up in the White Castle to get some. So
Did all that. Been there, did that, man. What I would tell you is you have to experience life. Life happens when you're making plans. So you have to experience life, but you also have to remain focused, right? Right. So you can just say, hey, I'm going to maybe sacrifice my 20s, but I'll get myself educated. That will put me in a different story when I'm in my 30s, right? That'll give me different opportunities. Same thing if you do it in your 30s. You'll have different opportunities in your 40s that no one from your family, especially if you're first generation immigrant, they might say, hey, I've never experienced that before. You're doing something different, right? And they should hopefully be proud of you, saying, go be different, set the bar a little higher for everyone, right?
well, you sound like you were very fortunate. Several times in this conversation, you mentioned your father.
Yeah,
He was your mentor, like from day one, riding hard with you, and he was giving you some very sound advice, and you listened.
exactly. It's the thing is giving advice and taking advice, right? So yeah, he can just spit words, and I have to internalize that and say, hey, I'm gonna make that change.
Yeah, yeah, you're very fortunate. City tutors. A lot of the folks that sign up City tutors to get a tutor or a mentor
Yeah,
is because their parents just don't know that stuff,
yeah,
right? Their parents are doing all the hard work, busting their butt, working all day and all night to provide the opportunity, but the type of advice your father was giving you,
yeah,
a lot of parents, especially immigrant parents,
yeah.
just don't know that stuff.
Yes. And then think about a mentor doesn't necessarily need to be a relative. It could
Oh,
just be someone that you trust. You can bounce ideas off of. So, and it could be something about them, not the entire person, but just something about them, one aspect. It could just be them professionally. They could be a whatever in there, but professionally or academically, they got it packed. And that's the type of advice that you need. So definitely having a mentor in your life to guide you is really, really important.
and one of the great things about our self-paced program at City Tutors, your mentor doesn't know you, so they can't judge you, right?
Exactly. Okay, good, good, good.
They can judge what you do. Like if they schedule an appointment with you and you're late, they're judging the fact that you're late, right? But they're
Exactly.
not judging you because they don't know you like that. All they
Yeah.
can do is tell you based on their professional experiences what they think a successful trajectory could be and should be.
Yeah.
But there's zero judgment, right? And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that people really really appreciate with City Tutors. So let's dig further. Let's dig further.
Mhm.
You finished at York College.
Yes.
You have a degree in accounting. Did you just say, okay, I'm done with school, let me go become an accountant? Or let me go back to
No, 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 that's never how it works. You know, your career is a journey, your studies, it's a journey. Sometimes you start out one place and then you're interested in something else and you have to pursue it. So at the time I was working, I got an opportunity to work. Like I was taking deposits, doing withdrawal, being a teller, being a personal banker. Then there was an opportunity that came up for me to actually test the software that they use in the branches. And I was like, with my computer degree, I can actually use it. So I took that job and I was testing software and I really loved it. It was like something that is very different. And it was something that I felt that was meaningful because I actually affected how systems work. Right. So I took that opportunity. I worked in back office and right across the bridge, this was in Long Island City, there was DeVry College, right? And that's a business focused college. So when I was about to graduate, I kind of looked over, and this is something I do constantly. I look at leaders in my company. I look at leaders everywhere. And one of the things I'm always interested in is what is their academic background? And one thing that I kept seeing is everyone has an MBA. And so I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm gathering all this work experience, but I need at least at minimum a master's degree, right? So I said, all right, I need an MBA. This is my chance to choose what I want to specialize in, right? Because I need to be passionate about it, and I was going to take out student loans. So I'm like, I'm going to pay for it. So this has to be something I like. So then I chose information systems, which is basically connect the flow of information through systems, making sure you can manage it, right? And I was like, that's a cool space to be in, because as companies grow and get bigger, their technology infrastructure gets bigger too, right? So they need someone to manage all this stuff. So I said, all right, I already work in a big company. They might need someone in the technology department to do this. Let me set myself up. So I started there. And one of the things I really liked about the ride is they have this hybrid schedule where I can actually go to class, or if I can't make it to class one semester, I can do the class online. And that worked out for me well, because it would save me time and effort from trying to hurry up my work to get there. And one thing that's important with also professionally is you have to network, right? So networking events. So sometimes you have to leave work and go to these places and just network. So that was really important for me too, as I move up. So that was how I chose the ride. And I did that for about 2 years. And then I had to make a decision of what next. And that's where I chose to do a PhD in the same field.
Really?
Yeah.
And what is that? What's the
Information systems management.
There's a PhD in that?
There's a PhD in everything. It's just that you're specializing in a very focused area. And for me, I didn't know that you can have like an academic degree in that area to say you're a specialist in that area. Because for me, I was like, I like this area. And I'm like, so it wasn't difficult for me. Like anything you're passionate about, they say it's not too difficult. So the work wasn't the problem. The problem with the PhD is writing that paper, because you're writing a paper based on somebody else's standards of what makes sense to them. So you have to follow a format, and that took a while. But the academic part of taking the coursework, totally aced it, because I like the subject area.
So in information systems, you had to write like that big dissertation.
Yeah, like 100 and something pages. It's available online if you guys want to look it up.
Oh, really?
It's published. It's published paper. Yeah.
What was the topic of your paper?
It was on. I think it was on like eco project. I can't remember now, but it was like on e-products, like green products, and it was a kind of a study on what are the variables that motivate people to buy eco-friendly products. So I looked at price, I looked at the quality, and I looked at the brand name. Like, what are the triggers for people to say, you know what, even though the price of this bleach or whatever is going up because they use eco-friendly material, I'll still buy it. Right? It turns out the brand loyalty is the key. So if Apple, because the name is known, if Apple raises their price on their product based on whatever, people, if they're loyal, they'll pay more.
Right. Okay. So
it's something kind of like we know, but it's nice for it to be confirmed by science.
Right. So you had to do this is like when you're doing your dissertation, that's like independent studies, right? Independent. Yes. How long did that process take you?
The paper took about 3.5 years to write. Yeah. Okay. It's no easy task. That's the hardest part.
Right. Okay. And where'd you go for your PhD?
I went to Walden because one of the things I liked about Walden too is the same online capabilities of me being able to kind of learn on the go. So I'll be at the gym, I'll do a class, I'll take the audio of the class, I'll be at work, I'll do the discussion board, I'll be out with my family on vacation, I can log in and do some more follow-up discussion. So I love that about it. I know some people love the classroom structure and that works for them, but for me, it's kind of sometimes I might need to read a question, think about it a day before I can formulate a response.
Did you when you finished your academic journey, did you have a lot of debt? You had a lot of student loans?
Oh, I could buy a small house with my debt, but yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot, man. And I'm still paying it off. I have a little bit left, but it's about being disciplined. Again, it's about saying that I signed up for this. I'm gonna have to make this an advanced degree work for me. So I said to myself, listen, when I graduate, I need to make sure that I'm holding myself accountable to getting myself promoted, to getting myself paid, to make sure that I can pay back this thing, right? This hell of loan. And I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm almost done. At the end of the year, I'll be done with it. But yeah, it's holding yourself accountable. So I really learned about academic discipline. And then after that, I'm teaching myself financial discipline, right? To ensure that after I complete something and I owe a debt, it's a debt also to me to ensure that I pay it back. And it's a lesson also to my kids to say that if you use it, you put it back, right? So sometimes, parents, they can't afford to send you somewhere. They don't have the money and you have to take out loans, but it's on you to pay it back, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I wanted him to see me do it versus hear me say it, right?
How's your son? How old is she?
He is 10. He's going to be 10.
Okay,
so big Lego Harry Potter fan.
Right. So he has time. He has time before he's ready to go out and jump into that academic arena. But okay, so in the real world, you have all these degrees, you have all this knowledge. How valuable are these degrees? Like can someone you're going for a promotion. Can someone with a bachelor's degree out promote you, like get the promotion over you? Can someone with a master's degree compete against you and get the promotion over a guy with a PhD? How valuable is that out there in the real world?
To me, it depends on the person that's interviewing you and if they see the value. Value could be thought of in many ways. They could see the value of your experience by doing the work, having years of experience. They could see the value in your degree by saying, this person has learned a lot and could contribute to what I'm trying to do. So it all depends on that. What I've seen mostly is your work, like all of the projects you've taken on at work. That is most valuable. I would say I've done my degree. It's for personal fulfillment, but in the real world, it's all about what projects you take on, the circles that you keep, I would say your leadership at work and what people say about you, especially as you progress into a leadership position. That is more, I would say, something that people look at.
Okay. Outstanding. So listen, man, I know I kept you on for a minute, and I appreciate your time and your knowledge and your sharing the story. So is there, before we wrap up, is there anything we left out? Is there anything you want to mention, you want to share that we didn't bring up during this conversation?
I think the only thing I would like to re-emphasize is, whatever stage you're at, understanding what your life plan and focusing on it, right? And making sure you don't get distracted, because there's a lot of distraction. And sometimes you need to sit down, take stock, and say, am I, when I created this plan, this is where I thought I would be. Am I there? If not, let me recalibrate. Let me think again if this is what I want to do, and let me refocus myself. I do that a lot just to ensure that I hit my goals and I'm staying focused and staying motivated, right? So I think that is something I would pass on to people, because it's a very personal thing. right? I
Yeah.
know of some managers, they just book like a stay in a hotel over the weekend, and that's all they focus on. Just the reflection of my life and seeing where it needs to go, because that adds a lot of clarity when you come back, right? It's saying, hey, I shouldn't do these projects, or hey, I need to go back to school. And I've thought long and hard about it with no distractions, no kids, no nothing. This is what I want for myself. And I wish more and more people would do that, because having that sense of clarity really helps, because it gives you that sense of purpose too.
Absolutely. Oh man, Sheik, you dropped some jewels on us, man.
Oh man, for a Friday, right? This is
I really appreciate it. You gave us some great stuff, and I'm sure some of the young people that are watching are definitely gonna be able to glean some great information out of all the things you shared. But on behalf of Citi Tutors, on behalf of tutors, mentors in the city, thank you, man. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.